David, man, you can't say that on air. You can't say that on air. Okay, go on.
What? Oh, sorry.
You're walking all over me, my guy.
Go on, Mike. Sorry.
All right.
David, what's going on with racist?
Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
It's that kind of podcast today. Welcome to the Leg Kick. I'm your host, Michael Asiffo, and I'm joined by Jim Bone Crusher Asiffo. Can we say Bone Crusher Asiffo? Right.
I'm joined by Jeremy.
Bone Crusher?
He is Bone Crusher Asiffo because he sounds like Bone Crusher.
Bone Crusher in the house.
Although lately it's more like Jeremy Boner Crusher Asiffo. Okay, let's go on.
Boner Pressure? Oh,
Boner Crusher. Boner Crusher.
what the hell?
Keep the introductions going, Mike.
Michael, you're on.
I'm sure there was some kind of home, but let's just speed past it.
We're gonna bleep that.
Let's keep it 100, Jeremy. Jeremy, let's keep it a buck, like Mike says. Mike, please continue.
Keep it a buck.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you.
By that, I'm assuming he means there's 100 cents in a dollar. That's my Stefano here to break down black culture for our white viewers. Mike, continue.
All right, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you and introduce the next guy, Dave Gang Life.
I want a new nickname. Call me Dave Punctual Agbaire.
Yeah, because somebody was 45 minutes late.
We won't say who. We won't say who.
We won't say who.
Me?
Wow, we won't say.
Where's
the bus driver at? Where's the bus
Just say that person has to.
Where's the bus? Where's the bus driver at?
We have Stefano. I'm too hungover to be here, Hosko. What's going on, Leg Kick?
Man,
I don't know about you guys.
Can you tell how much effort we put into this podcast for everybody? Can you just tell how much effort?
Is so hungover, he has a new Skype name. That's a completely different person. Remember when you had like the fresh cut, Stefano? Oh,
wait, who's Stefano? I'm just the alcoholic substitute they pulled in at the last minutes. They just whipped me off the street of Queen and Dundas, and here I am.
You know what? The beard's a good look for you, though. You should keep it.
The beard, I think I might. It can require a little trimming, but
It's not a bad look. I'm thinking about keeping mine too.
You look homeless. All of you do.
Mike.
All right,
Jeremy. I'd make some kind of comment about your looks, but with that pixelated camera, I can't tell you apart from a Minecraft character.
That is funny.
All right. Let's get to the news because I gotta kind of get through this. All right. So Bellator had an event recently, if you didn't notice, and Canada's second son, Jordan Meehan, was in the co-main event, and he lost. Like I told everybody he would. No offense, I like Jordan Meehan, good guy, but I told everybody and their mother that he was going to lose, to which everyone said, you're crazy. And Jason Jackson, the guy who's been killing everybody who moves and getting robbed out of certain decisions, beat Jordan Meehan pretty handily.
I think we have a Jason Jackson fan on our panel. I'm not sure.
Huge fan. He beat Ed Ruth. I don't care what anyone tells you. He beat Ed.
I didn't actually see that fight or the rest of the Bellator card, unfortunately, but I'm looking forward to checking out the recaps. I put in a Bellator level of effort with regards to watching their their card this weekend.
Man. Sergio Pettis defeats Ricky Bandejas, aka Sidekick Master, pretty handily as well. So, one more result from that card. Aaron Pico picking up the W by submission. Oh, yeah.
That's the one that I watched. And yeah, it was pretty much what you would expect. He just wrestled him to the ground and beat him up. And
I like wrestlers.
He choked him out.
Mr. Left hook to the liver, going back to his wrestling base.
Yeah. Honestly, because I feel, and they asked him about it after the fight. They were like, does this kind of, mean a new transition for you? Are you like not gonna? Basically, he was like, yeah, I know my strengths. Like, I know I can box and knock anybody out, but let's be real. I was an alternate for the Olympics. So, come on. Like, I'm a wrestler. So, I'm going to stick to what I'm good at kind of thing.
I've always said I like wrestler Aaron Pico. I get it. Hand speed is 1,000, but I like wrestler Aaron Pico. So, Yeah.
Hey, play to your strengths, man. Play to your strengths. There's no reason Aaron Pico can't lean on his wrestling when he needs it and bring out that beautiful left hook to the body if, as kind of an equalizer. Yeah.
It's sad because he's actually a good boxer. It's just,
And I just want to say, please, when you do watch the fight, 2 things. Pay attention to the guy who he fights' hair. He might have the longest hair I've ever seen in an MMA fight. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, it was unsafe. That's number 1. And number 2, also, he also had dreads, which I know is something that you guys have talked about. And he had them, like, wrapped up in, like, a bundle. It looked like, like packs. It looked crazy. It looked like he looked nuts out there. But shouts out to Hatley Jr. But, yeah, man.
Our local hair commentator, David Agbaire.
That's not my surname, but I'll take it.
Nice try.
I'll take it.
You completely butchered that.
You know what? Honestly,
Mike, coming from the guy who mispronounced my 2-syllable last name for the first 2 months while I was on this podcast. 2 syllables, man.
For the record, it wasn't 2 syllables. It was like 4 years, and like you didn't tell me any different. So
wait, 2 syllables in 4 years?
Sorry, it wasn't 2 months. It was 4 years. I've mispronounced your name for 4 years, and you didn't say, which is like insane.
So much for the Christian podcast. Are we believing that one now too? Oh, snap.
Listen, I've recently gotten both these guys to convert to atheism.
Yeah.
They're no longer they're now one with Satan, as am I.
Welcome to the dark side.
All about Lucifer, man.
Hold on, when I was invited onto this podcast,
I was told her name was Lucy. I was told.
It's Lucifer. Lucy for last name Fur. But hey. Hold on, David. When I was invited onto this podcast, you told me welcome to the dark side. So which is it?
Both. There's multiple dark sides. This is one of them.
Okay.
Using his transitionary power to move on.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Next topic. Oh, Lou Williams, by the way, will have a mandatory 10-day quarantine and will miss 2 games in the NBA restart season because he went to a gentleman's club for dinner.
Man.
All I'm going to say is I got 2 bleeps like I'm Lou Will. Drake warned us. Drake
did warn us.
Who eats dinner at a gentleman's club? That's what I want to know. I'm assuming gentleman's club.
Wait, what? Who doesn't?
Doesn't that mean strip club?
Yes, it
does.
Yes. Disgusting. I never thought anyone actually ate food there.
No. Look, American strip clubs are different from Canadian strip clubs.
You got to go to the chicken tendies covered in visceral fluids. Like, I'm sorry.
Why would they be covered in any fluids?
Well, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe,
what are you doing at the table?
I'm assuming
you're covering your
Stefano, the girls aren't working in the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Hilarious. Yeah,
Actually,
like they're not the bouncers, the coach girls.
Listen, okay.
Yeah.
I am a feminist.
They're just there.
So I like to picture that the girls are doing all the jobs.
I get it. No, I see. You're a visionary. A flat hierarchy. There's no bosses. Just
exactly.
Everybody does different.
A flat Earth hierarchy. That's what I'm all about.
No, but like in all seriousness, American strip clubs are different in the sense that like some of them are legit like top of the line restaurants.
Top of the line.
I'm not making that up.
But they can make some decent wings, I would imagine.
Yeah, we're not talking Michelin 5-star, okay, here, Mike.
No, okay.
Gordon Ramsay's not visiting anytime soon. We're talking about a place.
Ramsay's life. Don't say that.
Maybe John Taffer is. Maybe John Taffer. You never know. But anyway.
So moving on, Mike. Any more news?
Let's see.
Any more people that had chicken tendies at a strip club? This is what qualifies as news. Jeremy Asiffo had some chicken tendies.
Chris Paul snitched on me.
Wait, what?
Chris Paul snitched on me.
Why would Chris Paul snitch? Hilarious. That's funny.
Okay, go on.
Oh, man. So anyway, new segment, Jeremy's Takes. It's the take where Jeremy says something about life. And I like it.
You're not going to talk about Mike Tyson and Roy Jones?
Oh,
we're not talking about Mike Tyson and Roy Jones.
We're definitely talking about
Jeremy. I mean, David, we kind of have to Listen, can I just lead on this? Because I think I can sum up what you said.
Sure.
What you're thinking, guys? Really?
All right, let's move on.
Hold on, no. I just want to quickly go on a rant. Is this really what we want as a buying public? Like, I'm not sure. But are we really that desperate for nostalgia?
Did you what? Start going.
Like, we're really this desperate for nostalgia as a culture. We're really so frozen in the last 20, 30 years that we want to march these 50-year-old men out here to have a fight. Is this really what the public appetite is?
I actually got so many thoughts about this. Before you get to your question, Michael, number one, I knew this was coming. The second I saw Instagram videos of him hitting the bag, teaching Francis Ngannou how to land a punch, him hitting like one of those speed machines, I knew it was a wrap. Like, this dude is coming back. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how popular his podcasts are. Like, this dude is coming back. And besides, in his podcast, he was talking about, oh yeah, I've been training again. This is the 180 from him saying I would never train because I don't like who I became. So I think when he went on that ESPN interview with Max Kellerman, I like that the first question they asked him is, why now? Why are you doing this now? My second point is, did you guys pay attention to the setup? It's not even like, he has multiple promoters who are coming together to promote this fight as an exhibition bout. He owns the company. It's a joint venture that he owns. Mm-hmm. So that means he's putting up the money to kind of organize a fight between him and Roy Jones Jr. And it's not just going to be a fight league. It's also going to be basketball league, because he's like, who wouldn't want to see, who did he use again? I can't even remember. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Chris Webber in half court. Come on, man.
Wait, who wouldn't? Sorry, I was just raising my hand.
Me. I agree. I'm one of those people who doesn't want to see that. I think it's dangerous.
Okay, let's be
We're
honest.
in the best era of heavyweight boxing that we've had in a long time.
Long ass time.
MMA is the best that it's ever been. Why? Who's clamoring for this? Who asked for this?
I think
the same people.
I think there is better. I think there is better. There is better fights to watch. You've got the heavyweight division, like you said, best it's ever been. You've got Ryan Garcia, who's going to be in a fight soon. You got Gervonta Davis working on some fights. You got Terrence Crawford, who's looking.
Spence. Don't forget about
Errol Spence. You got guys who are actually looking for fights.
Canelo, and Lomachenko.
Yeah. So there definitely is
Farmer.
There definitely is better fights out there, but I honestly wouldn't mind it. I'm actually would like to see it.
You know what I would say though?
Hold on, I gotta take Jeremy to task over this.
No, sorry. I just want to say, if I lived where this was happening, I would pay money to go see this live.
Yeah,
I'm saying that I want to see it because they are still two great athletes. Not now, but they were still two great athletes who just want to put on a show. It's I don't mind things for entertainment. I'm open to entertainment and change.
Yeah. This is what I want to say though. This is what I want to say is that when we talked about Mike Tyson coming back when I was with Vibe 105 a couple months back or a month back, and they asked me would I want to see him back, and I said the condition is I want to see him against another older over the hill guy in an exhibition match for charity. This is almost kind of the scenario. Another over the hill guy, exhibition match, not counting towards records where guys are going to get knocked out, and so
guys are going to get knocked out though.
That's the issue. Knocked out. They're wearing headgear.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
I think you can have that allow the disallowed, for example.
Knocked out. Realize that, right? You can still get knocked out.
Get knocked out with headgear. But
these are two men in their 50s who have taken a career's worth of punishments. What next? Are we going to get guys? Are we going to dig up the grave of Grandmaster Elio Gracie to fight against Antonio Inoki? Why?
Let's start doing freak matches. Let's go Gracie versus Julio Cesar Chavez. I like it. Let's go.
Jeremy, I don't think you realize how potentially bad this could look. you're picturing Mike Tyson in his prime. You don't know how much an athlete can just degenerate over those years.
But see, this is
And
the thing.
No, but the thing that I'm open to. Go ahead, Michael.
No, I was going to be in your corner there. I was like, I think Jeremy definitely knows that. I think what Jeremy's trying to allude to is, look, this is all in good, but this is kind of the scenario you wanted. I didn't want to see Mike Tyson versus some 30-year-old, like, you know,
Who wanted
Yeah,
this? Not me, man.
yeah,
I'm
bro,
cool with the
I
new
just wanted-
stars.
I
I'm cool with the new stars.
don't even know if I wanted it in general, but now that it's come up and I've seen the promo and stuff, I just want, like, I
You know what
don't
this reminds
mind.
me of? The South Park episode with the member berries.
Oh yeah.
It's just getting drunk on nostalgia. That's all that it is. Like, will
No.
it be the most technical fight we see this year or next year, whenever it happens? Definitely not. Will
No.
it be the most ferocious? No.
Mike,
We're not going-
you're
we're not-
going off the health.
Guys, what I'm trying to explain is this. If there's a scenario where Mike Tyson can turn back the clock again and just, like, you know,
Yo,
no, hold
Mike,
on.
Let him finish.
You guys keep cutting me off on this point I'm trying to make,
I'm joking.
right? If there is a scenario where Mike Tyson can go back in there and feel young again, right? You know what I'm saying? And go into a boxing match. Because last time I remember, the last fight he had against Danny McBride was an absolute disgrace, right? You don't think he doesn't remember that? You don't think he doesn't soil on that for like 10, 15, 20 years, right?
So, wait.
Okay, and so my point is if there's a scenario where he can go back in there, he's training again, he's in good shape, right? He's making money off of appearances again instead of just making money off of like the weed farm and maybe every once in a while on a podcast. Is this not the scenario you want him to make money in versus a guy who's over a hill in an exhibition match?
Mike, why are we acting like we're only concerned for the well-being of one of these fighters? Like Roy Jones Jr. isn't also an all-time great and didn't suffer terrible
He got knocked
knockouts.
out like literally 2 years ago. That's I get
Terrible
your point, but like,
so, like,
also,
so
Roy,
we're
concerned about- hold on.
in Roy Jones's scenario, in Roy Jones's case too, guys, they're in headgear. It's an exhibition match, and I'm pretty sure some of the proceeds are going to go to charity.
I don't care.
Pretty sure.
I don't want to see it, and I'm kind of ashamed that this is as big a spectacle as it is.
No,
Let's-
and frankly, I'm kind of ashamed that the undercard features a YouTuber versus a former basketball player, right? Yeah.
The
No,
whole
that-
thing
And
is
a rumor is Tito Ortiz against James Stoney as well. It's going to be on that card. Like, really, guys, this is this is what we're doing to combat sports. Really, we're trying to gain legitimacy for.
No, it's
And also, I want to say this also, just quickly. I think it's a dangerous, and I don't want to say Western philosophy, but just because you're good at something, just because you spent your life working at something, doesn't give you any inherent right to do that thing, especially when it's detrimental to your health. So just because Mike Tyson might feel great being a boxer again, doesn't mean that that's what's necessary for him.
Again,
at this
guys,
point.
David, I'd just like to correct you to saying that it's a Western thing. I'd like you to take a note at Pride and K1's matchmaking where they put in Ironhead Fujita and 40-year-old sumo wrestlers against elite heavyweights.
But at least that's an exhibition, and nobody's trying to get hurt.
That's not true.
If you're fixing the results.
I've seen exhibition does not necessarily mean that someone's not trying to get hurt. Most exhibition matches I've seen are indistinguishable from fights.
We've still gotten good performances from older guys in combat sports. Granted, they weren't 50 or over the age of 50, but based on the promos, you can see that these guys still have the fundamental. They have the fundamental. They have the fundamental technique to actually put on like a respectable show. Like like Michael said, it's exhibition. Like I think this is gonna be fun to watch. It's good entertainment for the public. Like just take it from a fan's perspective. You guys are looking at the from a fighter's point of view, but I'm just saying like there's a reason why this is generating interest from the public.
I'm not a fighter. I don't want to see that, man. I don't want to see that. There's so many other good fights. I think it's dangerous.
I'm not saying I
guys in just
I'm not
for
saying I want to see
spectacle.
it. What I'm trying to say though is that this is probably let's be honest.
We hear your nuance. You just disagree with it, Michael.
He was going to fight again. Do you want him facing some 20-something-year-old up-and-comer? Or do you want him fighting another guy?
Fighting at all, Michael.
Yeah, do you know what I want, Mike? I want him to go enjoy his weed farm, spend time with his kids, and like not tarnish his legacy as the absolute legend that these two fighters are, and not come back for some, Hollywood-esque, late like the consequences. You can say whatever you want about headgear and about it being an exhibition match.
Hey, listen.
When the leather starts flying,
protect them. I don't think
we've got to stop talking over each other. We've got to stop talking over each other. And I know I'm guilty. I know I'm guilty of it too. But
sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Go ahead.
So yeah, I think if this is the kind of appetite that the buying public's going to have from now on, there's a couple of old lions at the Toronto Zoo that we can throw into the octagon and make them fight each other till the death. But to be honest, I really think this it does harm overall. I think for combat sports, I don't think it brings any new fans into the sport or reflects positively on boxing or mixed martial arts in any way whatsoever. If anything, I think it hurts the image of the sport. And all you're going to do is pull a bunch of nostalgia-baiting boomers out there who, frankly, want to see Mike Tyson go at it one more time. And I think it's kind of sad. But what do I know?
Really depressing if you think about it. Why is Mike Tyson doing this right now? That's really the question for me. Because if you listened to him 2 years ago, you would have thought that dude would never fight again. He seemed at such a place of serenity. And he was doing a lot of psychedelic drugs, and it seemed like all of his past trauma was finally making sense for him. So I'm not sure.
Says that he's. I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to cut you off. But who said he's experiencing trauma because he wants to get back in the ring?
No, well, without a doubt, Mike Tyson's experiencing trauma. Without a doubt.
Right now,
he has childhood and also adolescent trauma that he's probably still processing through. I mean, he might be over it. But all I'm saying is, why now? I don't know if he's going through trauma right now. What I'm saying is, why did he make the decision to launch this? And
to feed his ego.
Which
isn't a good mindset.
2 years ago. Go back to the interview 2 years ago.
Where he called himself a bitch.
I find myself in the middle in all of this. Because on one hand, I do agree with Stefano, but I feel like the problem with a lot of MMA heads and a lot of hardcore fans is especially the intelligent hardcore fans or the guys who like to label themselves as hardcore fans, is they think that people who are going to watch Mike Tyson are going to somehow, or all of a sudden somehow, interested in MMA in the first place. That's not what this is about, right? So I'm saying, like, no matter what, the MMA fans are still going to be MMA fans. The boxing fans are still going to be boxing fans. This is not about them, right? And I'm not talking about the fans. What I'm talking about is from a perspective of if a scenario where you say Mike Tyson comes back, and I said it too. I was on Vibe 105 lambasting everybody for wanting this to come back. I didn't want this, but I'm saying if a scenario where I said, okay, I can accept it, this is probably really close to it. Really close. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay, agreed. Do you guys want to dwell on this any further?
Hell no. Okay, yeah. I'll ask this though. Actually, I'll ask this. Will anybody watch September 12th?
Not through legal means, I can tell you that. Okay. I may watch out of curiosity, but I am not spending $1 of my hard-earned money to support this.
It's happening on September 12th?
Yeah.
My goodness. You know what? I think I'm actually going to give it a skip.
I'm going to tune in.
Yeah.
I'll tune in.
I just, for what? Just for what?
All right, that's fair.
The last thing we need in martial arts is egos. And we had a conversation about this or off mic or whatever, Michael. Because the last thing we need is more egos and more me.
And more condescension. Yeah, no, I hear it. I got
One thing I will say is I can understand why they're doing it, because as a certain person who came on the podcast once told us, that fire in you never dies. You always still feel like you're improving. You always feel like you're getting better. You always feel like a better version of yourself, right? And you never cease to become a fighter. But this is the time where, maybe your loved ones and the people around you kind of pull you to the side and say, hey, let's call it a day. We had a good run.
Here's an unpopular opinion about fighting and that fire that burns within you. If that fire burned within you all the time, you would not be a professional fighter because you would not have the discipline and focus to hone and stop being violent in times where it was not appropriate so that you could actually be violent within the appropriate times.
Oh, David, that's a take, man.
Oh, you can say take. I generally feel like that whole thing is an excuse.
that doesn't make sense, man.
No, it completely makes
No,
sense.
no, I get what he's trying to say.
I agree because you would be getting so violent and so angry all the time that you wouldn't even be able.
That's not what that means. That's
No,
not
I think
the desire to fight. Having the desire to fight, to want to get back in there one more time, doesn't mean you just feel a constant need to be violent to people.
Okay, well then what are we talking about? Is it the desire to compete or desire to be violent? Like what's the desire then?
It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. But
let me explain like this. The reason why I got into fighting was because I saw that I had a talent when I was 10 years old. I was being bullied, and all of a sudden I saw a punch coming, and I didn't know how to throw a punch. I didn't know how to block a punch. I didn't know how to dodge a punch. But I saw it coming, and all of a sudden I leaned back and threw a left hand right across the face. And from there on, I knew I was good at it.
But that has nothing to do
Dating all the way back.
Right there,
dating all the way
that
back.
is when the fire came into my heart.
Dating
That
all the way
is
back.
something.
Like dating all the way back to ancient times where during Olympic Games they would put the wreaths on the champion's head. I'm reading this book called something State of Mind or whatever. I have to.
I
remember
love
the
that
title.
book, Something State of Mind. Really
Yeah,
good book.
it's
Something
Body
State of
Mind.
Mind.
It's called Body Mind Mastery. I forget the name of the author, but it's to represent that victory is fleeting. So it's not so. So I have to, just from my experience with football, I have to push back and say that fire is not about wanting to be violent, because football also is a violent sport. It's more so about wanting to obtain honor and victory, because we know that feeling is fleeting. Also, this might be a good segue to give my take on
Oh,
on
Okay.
Audible on the
Okay, you know
Audible
what?
app.
I didn't finish my take, but fine, go for it. Go for
no,
it.
no, okay.
All right, we
I
can
just wanted
come
to
back,
say
but
that
I just want to say that Audible is a farce. Okay,
Please continue.
I have discovered something about Audible that I just want to expose to the world. I'm blowing the whistle. Audible asks for a $14.95 subscription a month, and guess what? You're only paying for a subscription. That's it. You think that there's this huge, massive array and library of books? No, damn near every book costs money, even apart from the subscription. What I'm trying to say is that I was severely disappointed, and I tried to contact somebody, but just kept leading me to more questions. I'm like, I want to speak to a person about this. More so, I want to speak to your marketing department, because if any of you guys have seen the commercials on Audible, like you would think that it's like you get all these books for free. No, that is not the case. So
if
that's
any if any
Sorry,
employees
how does
from
that have to do with honor?
hold on, because he was listening to the book on Audible. But if any Audible employees are out there listening to this, we'll still accept a sponsorship with you.
oh, geez. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
No,
I
no,
will
no, no, no,
never
no.
see one
Okay.
of those.
Okay, and I will say though that it actually is a good app, because you get one credit to buy.
Oh, whoa.
You get one.
No,
Come
no,
on,
no.
He's selling his soul
It's
to the devil.
No,
This
because I
guy's
should have.
like, money?
No, I should have. No. I have a problem with the way that they market it, but it actually is. Like I'm not backstepping. I'm not changing lanes at all. I'm just saying I have a problem with the way that they market it. You think that you get a lot of books, but actually you only get one credit to buy a book each month. But like you do get free stuff and whatever. But I'm just saying that I did get to read this really good book, and I'm still in the process of reading it. But I just want to say that I do have an issue with the marketing. That's all. But yeah, you guys can shake your ass for Audible. I don't care.
Jeremy just did more backtracking there than.
Whatever, I did backtracking, but you guys weren't shaking your ass for Audible, so I'm done.
Audible, FYI, I got a dump truck in my pants. Okay.
That's such a white thing to say. Black Lives Matter, by the way. Okay. All.
Hey,
Shut up.
all lives matter.
Okay, so what was your wait? Hold on.
Oh no,
Hold
we're
on.
going.
So
we're
David,
going-
what was your
oh,
take?
God.
David, what was your take on that fire with him?
Okay, look, fine.
Hold on.
What I'm trying to
it's a
say
bad
is
take.
that
If you want,
all
David, I'll give
professionals.
you the opportunity now too.
What, sorry?
Oh, you want to? Okay, go ahead.
No, all I was just gonna say is that all professionals, to be a professional in anything, it takes discipline, it takes training. You can't just be flying, especially a fighter. You can't just be flying off the rail. I hear your points. I know I hear your points. I see Stefano's face about that's not what the fire within is. Okay, well, if the fire is to compete, then surely, just like we have with civilization, surely you have to reach a point where you realize that it's not in your best interest to fight because that's the professional thing to do. That's the same mindset that got you to this place, is knowing the sacrifice, the discipline, etc., etc. It's hard when you get to a certain point and your ego and you feel like you still got it. I understand, but at the same time, I just think it's a dangerous mindset of, oh, well, if he still got the fire, he should still be able to do it. Well, no.
Straw man. Hopefully that wasn't a response to me.
No.
Okay.
No, that was not a response to you. I just think it's a commentary in general. I see it all the time. Like, oh, yeah.
David,
what's up?
not to be disrespectful, but unless you felt that fire, it's difficult to explain that.
Okay.
It's. Hey, man.
And once again,
I'm not trying to be a gatekeeper.
It's the quintessential issue with MMA media, where outsiders are not allowed to have an opinion.
I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying
that. I'm not even MMA media. I'm just some guy in front of a camera. But look, I'm saying experience matters. How can you sit here and say that my opinion is less valid when, on topics like race and on topics like gender issues, you specifically say that, men or people that aren't of that race should not have something to say because they haven't experienced it. That's your words, not mine. So
that's not what I said.
Clearly,
that's actually a common
matters.
misconception of what I'm saying. What I'm saying when we talk about race and gender is not that men or white men specifically. Sorry, it's not that white men shouldn't have anything to say. It's that they've dominated the conversation historically. This isn't the case.
That's not what I'm trying to say, though.
No, they dominated the conversation. So for
that's
once,
not what I'm trying to say. That's not what I'm trying to say.
No, David, let David go on, because
David interrupted me first. All I'm saying.
David, go, Stefano, go, and then David, go, Stefano, go.
I'm willing to wrap this up. This is going nowhere.
Look.
Let's wrap this up. We've got more news. We got a full UFC card coming.
Hilarious. Stefano is really mad because he's hungover. All I'm saying is that just because you've not experienced something doesn't mean you can't comment on it. And you know what? I would like to think when I do compete, I will say the exact same thing.
He's gonna compete. He's gonna compete.
You heard it here, everybody.
Period. Not even if.
You heard it here.
I'm gonna be in his corner.
I'll still
Mixed
have
martial arts.
I'm still
mixed martial arts promoters of the world. Mixed martial arts. Well, if you don't feel that fire, it's hard to explain to you. But mixed martial arts promoters of the world, you hear it. David is competing. David is going to compete. UFC. Sign this man. Bellator.
I'm going to be in his corner. I will be in your corner. I don't care. I'm coming.
And he's going to
throw what you're saying. And I also want to say that I don't feel like, I agree. If you've never done something, it makes it hard for you to criticize. But I just think, we're talking about, 50
Mike Tyson coming back. No, I think we're all in agreement this is a bad idea.
It's a bad idea. I don't agree with it. But I'll say I recognize how difficult it is for a fighter, because I've had times in my life where I wanted to hang it up, and it probably would have been in my best interest to. But you have to logically will yourself into realizing this is not the best choice for me. While at the same time, like an addiction, right? Like an addict, this voice in the back of your head is always telling you that you should jump back in, and that you can still do it, and that you can still make a run at it, and that you still need to compete. Well, you try to. That's all I'm saying is that people like Mike Tyson deal with fighting off that voice like an addict does for the rest of their life. And clearly, he made a decision not to fight for the longest time. So
I feel that, and I respect that. And
I'm not saying it's in his interest. I don't think he should compete. We're of the same.
I don't think it's in his interest either. I'm just saying if any scenario where I'm like, okay, I can kind of sort of accept it. This is probably pretty close to the scenario.
Yeah, up until it was Roy. I mean, my last thing on this. Up until it was Roy Jones Jr., I was probably in the same camp as you guys. But yeah, up until like that, I would say like he picked a good opponent.
So what's next?
No, my last point was that when J. Cole drops an album, I'm just like, man, I could still do it.
Yeah.
He's got music too. Let's do it.
Let's go. Drop the bangers. Drop the single, debut single.
Yo.
Full House Part 2 featuring the Cast of the Leg Kick podcast.
Don't call it a comeback.
Wrap the dick around my neck. Full House, baby.
I have a really funny story off mic about that. Okay, do we want to go top down on the UFC card or?
Yes, because we spent like 35 minutes on everything else.
On Mike Tyson, how about that?
Boys, before I don't know how much of the undercard you gents want to get into, but before we get into the main, or do you want to go top down? I don't know.
Top down, please.
I don't even know anymore. I just wanted to give props to our Canadian boys.
Oh,
doing
Jesse
the damn
Watson's
thing.
Yo, let's shout out the Canadians.
Jesse, the body snatcher Ronson, man, taking bodies, man. He had a slow start.
He coached against me, so like
looked a little bit defensively porous on the feet here, but his counters came, and that was it a left straight? That left straight that he hit at the end, man, it just feather touch to drop Nicholas Dalby, historically tough Viking gentleman. So
he opened it up with a jab too. He jabbed, left straight, put him down, and a rear naked choke.
Exhibiting great patience, waiting for Dalby to create those openings for him, and just with tight crosses and left hooks to the head, picking him off.
Yeah.
Where's this man's ceiling?
Well, he coached against me, so for the record, he's a fantastic human being. But still,
which fight was that, Mike?
Cunningham.
Oh, him and Sam Stout in the corner.
Yeah, it was which was kind of.
I'm gonna say that was intimidating for me coaching for you. I'm like, is that Sam Stout, the guy I used to watch on TV as a kid? Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
but, hey, it was cool. I mean, like, it was cool. But he's a good guy. He's a good guy. For the record, I'm not, and I couldn't be happier for him and Tanner Boser too. Earlier in the night, really put it on Poosa or whatever you want to say. Pessoa, right? That was an interest. That actually kind of carried a theme in the night, which we're gonna get into, I guess. But Tanner
Boser,
and his
mullet, making the mullet look sexy.
Yes,
that hand speed.
Hand speed, man, and ability to fight a disciplined game plan. Realizing that until he got Pizzao's timing, just sitting on the outside, feinting with the jab, throwing low kicks, and then when he got that timing, stepped in on the low kick, and it was lights out. Looked like, what did you guys think of the stoppage? Because it looked like a knuckle to the eye and kind of a delayed reaction with the shot.
Yeah, I think he got grazed. Sorry, go on, Michael.
No, I was okay with the stoppage.
Me too.
I was okay with it. I only saw the knockout.
Like, did you think it was so late that was egregious?
I think it was a few shots definitely a few shots too late. I think the stoppage, which we're going to be talking about later, was worthy of Dan Hardy screaming, but
No, it wasn't. But
we can get to it later. We'll get to it later because this guy has way. Man, you think I have a rant on Mike Tyson? You should hear Michael's rant on Dan Hardy. Jeez.
Oh God.
Unprofessional. In a word. Unprofessional.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare of a take.
It's unprofessional.
Anyway,
go.
Are we gonna go to the?
I can't wait to shred this hot take.
You know what? Let's do it now because we seem to be going bottom up anyway. So
are we not going to say anything about Tanner Boser's performance? Is that about it? Quick summary.
His hand speed is fantastic. Like it's going to be interesting to see what he can do as an undersized heavyweight. I'm saying guys have made it work in the past in the UFC, so it's possible, but it's
like 6'2",
6'2", 220, somewhere around there.
220s, 230s, yeah. And dude, he's got a lot of the tendencies. Hand speed's one thing. And I agree that sets him apart from other heavyweights. He just looked like in a class of his own as far as speed in this fight. A couple other attributes I noticed that are very impressive you don't see at heavyweight either. Footwork. Most heavyweights, you'll see a straight line charge, and the other fighter will almost always, invariably end up with their back on the cage because they're backing up. Tanner Boser, if you notice, never takes more than 2 steps backwards before he's circling. That is so quintessential. It's such an important basic. Young fighters out of there, stop
Two
backing
steps
straight
back
up.
and make a decision.
Yeah,
Always 2 steps back and make a decision.
exactly. Mike, maximum 2 steps back and then left, right, or clinch. But that's just basics done at a high level, man. Discipline. That's another thing. Discipline, the ability to stick to a game plan. And he loves working those levels, high, low, high, low. I see a potentially high ceiling for him. Let's see how much the size is an issue. There's obviously still some questions before we start waxing lyrical about him, especially, how he fares against wrestlers at the upper end of the division. But I'm excited for Boser's career. I really am. I haven't been excited for a heavyweight this much since Cyril gone.
Wow. That's a huge take.
Yeah, wow.
Crazy. I wouldn't go that far. It's been 2 fights. Fights.
Pump the brakes. But no, I am excited for him. I
want to see him. Sorry, go on, Michael.
No, go.
I want to see him against the other heavyweight fight on the undercard, Tom Aspinall. That guy is another guy whose footwork was decent for a heavyweight, kind of light on his feet. Made very light work of Jake Collier.
Let me just say, Jake Collier gained 87,000 pounds.
Yeah, wasn't he a middleweight before? I'm struggling to think of what fights I saw him in the UFC, but I heard his name and I'm like, damn, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, he was a middleweight.
Middleweight. I probably didn't recognize him.
Yeah, it wasn't looking too good last night. But
what was the name of that British heavyweight that he fought? Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, he looked good.
He looked good, man. Hey, one of my favorite counter strikes is that intercepting knee off the stomach.
Yeah,
like, he just sat Jake Collier down with that. Followed with a 1-2.
Man, yeah, but yeah, no, sorry to cut you off, David. Go ahead.
No, that was my take. That I would like to see Boser versus Aspinall, because I feel like Aspinall has decent footwork as well and movement for his size. I still think these guys are kind of a couple rungs below the top tier of the heavyweight, but that's not necessarily a shot against them. That's just saying that they're just working their way up, right? So
I agree, and I think that's a good thing because heavyweight's been I've been a little worried for the state of the heavyweight division for a while, but at the very least, we have some exciting prospects coming up between him and Gon, and this British cat, and a few other solid prospects at heavyweight that are making me excited again.
You know what? You know who I actually like to see Boser face? I think would be a real good test for him. Maybe not the next fight, but somewhere down the line. I would love to see Boser versus Greg Hardy because Greg Hardy's Greg Hardy's a bigger heavyweight, good, like relatively solid striker, but not nearly the striker Boser is, right? But he's bigger, right? So I'd like to see how he would fare against a bigger striker before I'd like to see him against a bigger like a wrestler.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna quickly pull up that heavyweight top 20 in MMA. Would you guys want to do a little exercise where we saw who would be a good matchup for him? If that's the one you want to stick with, who would be a good matchup within the top 20 if you wanted to give Tanner Boser a nod?
Can we like take out the top 10 of that because like I don't want to throw him into the wolves too early. I would say no.
Not ready.
Yeah. So maybe like 11 and below. Because he is relatively untested. Do you think Walt Harris,
Bad matchup.
No,
That's a bad matchup. Bad Rothwell? Is he even in the UFC still?
He's in the UFC. I would hesitate to say Rothwell because of his size and durability. But if you want to get him in with a good test, maybe like a Marcin Tybura would be an interesting fight.
Ooh.
No.
Tybura is not that...
I'm going to go below 20 because all of these guys look... Okay, Arlovsky seems like a decent fight, actually. No shots to Arlovsky. But, like, look at Verdum, who came against... who we were going to talk about the... He didn't come against Gustafsson. Well, we can talk about the Gustafsson fight later, but...
Man, tough fight for Gus.
Maybe
Yeah,
Tai
man, like,
Tuivasa. Tai
Wait,
Tuivasa.
I wouldn't mind a Tai Tuivasa.
Yeah.
Like I just want him against a bigger, capable striker. I'm not. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same kind of striker, but I want him against a bigger, capable striker. So that's why I said Hardy, because Hardy, like as much as we like to like hate on Hardy because of his passing discretions, which you should. Greg Hardy can fight, right? So I think that would be a solid matchup, like where you get somebody who's bigger, but a capable striker, and see how Tanner Boser fares against somebody who kind of sort of knows what he's doing, but he's bigger, right?
Greg Hardy would be. Sorry, go on, David.
I was gonna say I wouldn't go any lower. I would agree with Michael. I wouldn't go any lower than Greg Hardy because after that is Mo Green, and I think that would be a good matchup for Boser actually. So
I'm not sure how much what Greg Hardy necessarily does for Tanner Boser's career.
Popularity.
Popularity for sure.
I guess. And he's probably a better wrestler, maybe.
I'm thinking like solely development.
Didn't he have a fight booked this year, Greg Hardy? Just out of curiosity.
He did.
He fought De Castro.
No, doesn't he have another one booked up?
Oh, I have no clue. But no, I'm thinking solely from development, like a Tai Tuivasa, Mo Green. Like those are in and around the guys I want him to face. Guys who aren't really that skilled on the ground, capable strikers, but they're bigger. To just see how he can fare against the bigger guys in the division. Stefano, Mr. Popular over there.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding. But anyway, like you get what I'm saying. Like
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I want to see him against.
I think especially because Tuivasa, they're kind of on different trajectories of their career, and I think that would be a real battle of the ranges, a kind of a classic like boxer, American kickboxer type fighter against a much more Muay Thai heavy fighter who succeeds very much more in the clinch and throwing those leg kicks from the outside. I'd be interested to see how good Tanner Boser is against some really dangerous matchups as well. But yeah.
And then after that, I would like to see a wrestler, and then
after that, give him go on. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say like that's what I want to just see him against bigger strikers first, just to see like if this is just like a fad, and then get him against a wrestler to see if he can handle the grappling of a bigger wrestler or a heavyweight like sized wrestler, and then top 15. There you go. Like give him Surreal God, give him everybody, but like for development, I want to see him against those two kinds of matchups before I would even snip at top 15.
Absolutely. Now, so I guess moving on to the final prelim fight.
Wait, what's that noise in the back?
That is my dog.
Oh, sorry.
Chewing obnoxiously loud. Francisco Trinaldo versus Jai Herbert. Man. First of all, I just want to say that Trinaldo did not look himself in this fight. He looked slow, defensively porous, relying very much on that high guard. Seemed like Jai Herbert was splitting Trinaldo's guard with ease. And Trinaldo, usually a counter striker who prides himself on being able to move other fighters backwards with the threat of pressure and then come back with those big swings. Man, he was gassed by the second round.
He also missed weight, so.
Yeah. And I find it funny. The commentators are like, well, I don't know. What could be the circumstances with the missing weight? Well, maybe because we're fighting on Fight Island in the middle of a pandemic. I don't know. Just saying. Like, is this the elephant in the room nobody's trying to acknowledge?
Man. But, okay, I will say with the Francisco Trinaldo thing, let's give Jai Herbert some credit. He came out there, looked real good. That straight right was working for him all night. He also was looking pretty solid in the clinch and was well on his way to a victory until Trinaldo pulled it off with that straight left at the top of his forehead, which got Jai Herbert basically on spaghetti legs.
More than spaghetti legs, I think he stiffened him up.
See, this is where me and you disagree.
I think I would say that when a fighter is lying on the ground a la Forrest Griffin, Anderson Silva, arms extended in the air, you're standing above that fighter for 3-4 seconds, and they're completely unresponsive. No attempt to make it back to guard. Just lying there. Why? Why are you asking this man to punch his opponent another 3-4 times in the head? What's the use? What are we learning from that? Who benefits?
I've watched this back 4 times, and here's my position, right? I don't think it's a good stoppage, right? I don't think it's a good stoppage. I think it was late, of course. Like, no one's going to dispute that. But here's my thing. First off, post-fight, Jai Herbert shot straight back up, had a conversation with Herb Dean, his corner, and Trinaldo, right? First off, right? And everyone wants to ignore that. Secondly, again, we can't keep playing this game of we all love a comeback because Kevin Lee, Frankie Edgar, Czech Congo, Darren Elkins were all on spaghetti legs when they won their fights. So they were all doing that same dancing thing, right? And even in Frankie Edgar's case, he fell back, right? As Gray Maynard was landing bombs on him, right?
Like what dance? This guy planted on the ground, his head hit the mat. I don't care about a conversation him and Herb Dean had after. You can come too. Trinaldo was standing above him for 3-4 seconds and he did nothing.
I'm not saying it's a good stoppage. What I am saying though is it like I would say this. I'd say
then
this.
If it's a bad stoppage, it's a bad stoppage. Don't qualify.
Leon Roberts' stoppage with Jose Aldo was way worse. That's what I would say. Way worse.
Doesn't matter to me. There's still both awful stoppages that shouldn't have happened. And
okay,
I know you're going to say Dan Hardy was unprofessional. I agree he was unprofessional. But at the same time, man, sometimes
I'd like to see Dan Hardy get in there and ref too. I'd like to see Dan Hardy get in there and ref.
Dude, why is it a bad thing to hold a referees to a high standard, man? Like sometimes hold on. Sometimes there's higher values than professionalism. Sometimes your human side comes out and you actually express the compassion that you have for this man who's lying on the ground, arms extended in the air, unable to defend himself. Like, was it unprofessional? Yes. Would I have done the same thing? Absolutely.
Listen, as a judge, you are not the physician. You are not the corner. You cannot tell someone to stop the fight loud in an empty arena like that. You can't do that. That's not like that is unprofessionalism. So that's number one. So Paul Felder actually deserves some flack for that too, for the record, right? You can't do that. Point blank, full stop, period. I don't understand why everyone's having that conversation. You can't do that. That's unprofessionalism.
It's unprofessional, like, but how much? Sorry, go on.
Then to go to Herb Dean while you're supposed to be interviewing guys is a lack of journalism professionalism. And
watch your tongue, Michael. Remember okay, so we had a discussion before the podcast, Stefano, just to fill you in. There are 3 topics we cannot discuss on this podcast, and that's race, gender, and slander against Dan Hardy. So we're treading a pretty.
Hold on. I'm curious. Why the third one? Do you really like Dan Hardy?
He loves Dan Hardy.
Dan Hardy's a legend.
I love Dan Hardy too, and I think he did the absolute morally correct thing here. Was it professional? No, I think sometimes things supersede professionalism, man.
Listen,
what if
you cannot do that on a broadcast? You can't do that on a live broadcast. You can't do that.
I don't care, man. I value the health of the fighters. I value the health of the fighters more than I value the integrity of the broadcast.
Look, Herb Dean said something really, really smart about this. Is that look? It's almost as similar. Telling somebody to stop the fight when you are not the physician or the corner, right? Is almost as similar to blowing the horn to pretend like that's the end of the round. You're affecting somebody's ability.
I think where Michael's beef comes from is that it comes from a condescending place.
It does come from a condescending place too, because it's like you are not the ref. You were talking to probably the guy who's the gold standard of reffing, right? Who made a mistake? Yeah,
clearly not the gold standard.
Huh?
Clearly
Fine,
not.
Maybe he's not the gold standard.
Who is the gold standard?
Sorry. What? Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I think like everything, it's probably somewhere in the middle. You're both right, I think. I watched the stoppage again while you guys were talking. I initially was with you, Michael, in that I felt like the stoppage was fine. But having rewatched it,
I think it was late.
It was late. It was late, and I can understand why people are mad. And he did fall really awkwardly, and I wouldn't say he was unconscious, but he wasn't responding, really. So
intelligent defense is the only qualification we need.
It
doesn't matter if he's unconscious. It doesn't matter.
I don't think it was as bad as people are making it out
What
to
I want
be.
to see is one of these commentators step into the ring and be a referee, and let's see if they can make no mistakes as well. That's my thing, because it's easy to sit outside and be like, "Oh, it's definitely done." Oh, Herb Dean is probably one of the best referees we have in the sport. So I think I agree that there's some things that supersede other things. I totally agree with that, but also Herb has always been in favor of the fighters. Always. He's not one of those who's going to let you take. Even when he calls it early, he gets flack. When he doesn't call it early, he gets flack. We talked about this all the time.
Yeah, and look, as much as we don't want to, as much as like I hate Mario Yamasaki, you want to know the fight that got him fired? It's the fight that he stopped early that got him fired. Everyone talks about him being a guy who lets fights go on way too long. It's a fight that stopped early that got him fired. Kevin Lee versus Michael Michael Casilla. Not Casilla.
Chiesa. It means church.
think,
It means church in Italian. First of all,
should be
Michael Chiesa. But that's my point. Is that like we do this game all the time with these refs. We got.
I think that as far as the Kevin Lee Chiesa fight, not to bring up that old one, but to have someone fired over that is ridiculous. Was it a bit early? Yes, but he was not getting out of that choke. Yeah, man. I don't know. I think John McCarthy actually followed the opposite advice that you just gave. You said, I'd like to see commentators step in there and become referees. Well, John McCarthy said, I'd like to see referees step in there and become commentators because he now commentates for Bellator.
But I bet it's a much harder job than people give it credit for. And it's much easier, kind of like you said, to sit on the outside and criticize when you've never done it. And
it's not. It's sorry, David. I apologize.
No, I'm just saying, like, even though Dan Hardy has competed, he's not a referee, right? And he doesn't have to make high-level decisions at breakneck speed like these guys do. So, you can forget. I know it's the fighter's health, but that's kind of like the currency you guys are playing with in there. So,
guys, I don't know, man. We can't keep calling referees the best in the game when they keep just making mistake after mistake after mistake. And we can give them as much latitude as we want and say it's a hard job. Having a difficult job doesn't mean you're entitled to get it wrong with high stakes. If a police officer does something hellacious and, let's say, oh my God, I can't bring up race.
Yeah, well, let's say.
If a surgeon makes a mistake and someone dies on the operating table and it's completely their fault, we don't say, "Oh well, a surgeon is a hard job." If a surgeon makes a clumsy error, that's completely their fault.
Okay.
That surgeon gets fired.
But like this is what I'm trying to explain. It's not to the point where we
higher standard for referees, bar none.
But this is my point that I'm trying to make is that was it an error? Yeah. Was it such an error that like we have to go, okay, Herb Dean needs to get fired? No. That's what I'm trying to explain. The Leon Roberts one was so much worse. All right, much worse. Because for 45 seconds, Leon Roberts saw Jose Aldo in a fetal position as Peter Yan beat on him, right?
You know what we'll do, though, from this situation? Sure, maybe Herb Dean doesn't need to get fired. He's an experienced referee, and we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But you know what we will do in this scenario, which is what we do in MMA all the time? Nothing. We're not going to look at we're not going to look at the rules. We're not going to look at ways in which we can improve referee training. We're not going to standardize referee. We're not going to do anything because that's what we do in MMA. We're outraged for 5 minutes. We're outraged for 5 minutes, and then we do absolutely nothing and forget about it. And it's on to the.
But you know what Herb Dean did do? He at least answered for what he did and what he was trying to do, and he was at least explaining his rational and sense of thought, like I've been saying refs should do for the last 20 episodes. Refs should get into a camera. Refs should explain their decisions. Refs should say why they made the decision they did. And to Herb Dean's credit, he did.
Like I'm with you on that. I definitely think referees should explain the rationale. I don't think it's enough, but
that's what I've said is that he should, and that's what he did. And the fact that Herb Dean, again, who is the gold standard, all right? Because if he isn't the gold standard, they don't keep putting him in these high-profile fights. He gets high-profile fight after high-profile fight after high-profile fight and does a hell of a job. And we're going to forget the time that he saved fighters' lives in there, because he did on multiple occasions.
The bad doesn't absolve the good, nor the good the bad, as a wise Game of Thrones character once said.
Yeah, but it does when your job is to save lives in there. And chances are it might go bad. It will go bad if somebody doesn't jump in. So I don't know. I feel where I agree. Referees needs to be trained way more for a higher way higher standard. But I just think like everybody makes mistakes unless you get a robot, and we're never getting UFC robot refs. And although that would be great, I would love to see that. And it, with all due respect, I think we're kidding ourselves if we think Herb Dean is not the gold standard, because all referees make mistakes. Literally every single one of them makes a mistake.
Guys, I'm sorry to do this too, but I have to dip out for a second. I've got a bit of an emergency that needs attending.
Okay.
No worries. No worries.
I'll be I'll let you guys know in a second.
All right, and no worries. Let's go to the Khamzat Chimaev fight.
How about that guy?
Man, this Khamzat kid is, for the record, this is one of the only 2 fights I cared about on this card going into it.
What?
Right? I didn't care about any of the other fights, except for Till versus Whittaker. This is the only other fight I cared about.
Nah, man. There were a couple other fights. Paul Craig, Esparza. That was a good fight too.
You only like Paul Craig because he's from your native land.
I know. Let's
Okay,
get it. Let's do. Yeah, no, we can talk about the Khamzat Chimaev fight. First of all, I thought his name was Khamza. It's not. It's Khamzat. Like a real Chechen. Man, what is it? We've already talked about this, but what is it with these guys from the Baltic region? They are just on another level, man. He's just that. Apparently, that McKee guy with Reese McKee, I think, was pretty top rated.
I'm a champion.
Yeah, man, he was coming out of like he had some pretty big hype around him, but
Chimaev was hyping the hell out of him too, and gets this shot against Khamzat, and I've never seen someone ragdoll their last 2 opponents in. First off, to make history in 10 days and have 2 victories within 10 days is crazy. Secondly, I've never seen a guy who's 7-0 ragdoll 2 men. One, by the way, wasn't even in his natural weight class. He moved up. He was a weight class up from his natural weight class to do it, right? As he murdered a guy, 127-2 in terms of strikes, total strikes, 127-2. Takes another fight 10 days later and runs through another guy by a total strike score of 57. No, actually, it was 68 to 0. Yeah. 68-0. What planet are we on right now with it?
That style, man? It's too hard. It's too hard. If you've never fought somebody with that style, like, you're gonna struggle, because the way he did it, he just didn't even bother boxing. Like Khabib, at least he's gonna stand, trade with you, get your hands loose, and then shoot. This guy doesn't even bother. He's just like, okay, I'm just gonna crump you to like the cage and just grind on you. Like, I've never seen it. I don't want to say never seen anything like that, but if I was Kamaru Usman, I would be very, very worried, because that guy's a welterweight. Are you kidding me? He's 6'2" and is grinding. The other dude was like 6'1" too. He wasn't like small or anything. He was grinding him. Like, it was crazy.
I remember I wanted to do a prediction video, and then after I saw that, like I saw that play on the card at the main card, and I was like, I know how this fight's gonna go.
Yeah.
I know how this fight's gonna go. What are we talking about? He literally walked up to him. Me and Jeremy saw the broadcast, and I was shocked. He literally walked up to Reese McKee, a guy who's going to fight for a Cage Wars welterweight championship, right? Before getting called up. He was going to fight for the Cage Wars welterweight championship. And he literally walked up to a welterweight championship contender in one of the best organizations in the world, took him down, like not even tried to set it up. He didn't even try to set up with boxing. He literally tapped gloves, walked to him, standard double leg takedown, pulled him towards his corner, threw him over his head, and proceeded to wail on him for about 3 minutes. I was shocked.
Man. So now that we've established that he's Khabib-esque, who do you guys want to see him fight next?
Ooh, man. Give him a top guy now. I don't see the point
of
waiting.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I feel like normally I would be like, yeah, it's too early, but like the way he's been running through guys, like, I don't know. I don't see the point in waiting at all. Ponzinibbio hasn't fought in a while, although that might be a little bit too quick.
I was about to say, relax.
But, even like a Jeff Neal, I think that's a good fight for him.
Oh, relax. The one I would say is a good matchup where like you can really see if he's ready for prime time is if Mike Perry can figure himself out. Why not?
Why would you want to see that? That's not. We know how that's gonna go.
Mike Perry's gonna get destroyed. I get it.
Yeah, man. Come on. Mike Perry can wrestle, but not like that. Not like that. Like you need a special wrestler or somebody who has way better like striking than he does. Because like if not, he's just.
But see, this is the crazy thing. I hear that when he goes and strikes at All Stars, him and Gustafsson are going to war.
Hilarious. Well, everybody's got gym stories. What do you want me to say? Yeah, everybody's a beast in the gym. Not to say like he's not. I'll say I haven't seen much of his striking yet. I bet he does have power. Something tells me he's probably not as technically proficient as like a Fiziev, for example. Although is Fiziev, he's like a welterweight, middleweight, right?
Lightweight.
Oh my god.
Fiziev's lightweight. Yeah, I know he's.
So they could actually realistically fight if you think about it, because Fiziev is a pretty big lightweight. Not in terms of like height, but in terms of.
Yeah, he's built like a lightweight. Yeah.
But anyway, my point is, I don't think he's like technically proficient in terms of his striking, but I don't know because I haven't seen anything. But what I do know is like he can wrestle, and sometimes that's all you need. That's kind of how the welterweight division is, if you really think about it. If you can wrestle, like you're gonna be at the top of the pack.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Like, I'm looking at his record now. Everything's within the first round except for that John Phillips fight. Like,
do you think he beats Chiesa? Like, do you think Chiesa beats him?
Michael Chiesa?
Like, I don't.
See, this is the thing is that, like, the two opponents he's fought is John Phillips, who, you know, look, I'm not saying Phillips is bad on the ground per se. Like, he does have some skills on the ground, but Phillips is not nearly the grappler that Chiesa is, right? And then Reese McKee, you know, as touted as he was still a prospect. He is still a prospect. So, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you give him top 15 immediately. That's what I'm trying to explain. You know?
Yeah, I'm just going through the rankings right now.
Like, I can definitely see him getting, like, someone who's way experienced. Like, why not? No, Kevin Holland fights at 185. But I was going to say, why not Kevin Holland? Like, why not a guy who's, like, on the up and up, but not there yet, you know?
Wow, Gunnar Nelson's 19. Man, some of these rankings are so weird. Nate Diaz, Ponzinibbio's a 15. Yeah, no, I think he takes RDA. I think he takes Chiesa. Although RDA would be a good fight, good and tough fight for him.
We're talking about 8-0 guy fighting RDA. What planet are we on?
This guy's good, man.
I know. That's
really
that's
good.
The thing. Like, I'm not saying that to be condescending. I'm saying that to be like what like it's a legitimate conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Who do you put him up against? Like, there's Jing Liang Lee, Zaleski, Price.
He kills Zaleski. Oh my god.
Anthony Rocco Martin.
Oh no, that actually, no, that's not a bad matchup.
Mike Perry's 25th. Nico Price and Martin are above Mike Perry. Not that says anything in terms of their skills, but yeah. Like, I just feel like you keep going anything lower than 15, I think, is just disrespectful to his skills so far.
The thing is, I don't know. See, the problem is,
Bilal Muhammad, that's a good fight. I'd like to see that one.
That's actually, I wouldn't mind Bilal Muhammad. The problem is, I'm with you, like, but like, I just like something in me just is like, what planet are we on? He's 8-0. Like, what are we talking about? You know,
just that strike differential alone, man. Mike, come on.
Yeah, that was out of this world.
That's a historic numbers right there.
Real talk.
It's got to be. All right. Okay. What else are we talking about on this card?
Boy, tough fight for Gus, eh?
Wait, hold on. Are we? Yeah. Okay. We can move on to that one. Although we're skipping over some of the fights I actually wanted to talk about.
Okay, fine. You want to talk about Bear Jew?
Yeah. once again, I have been doing very, and I really wish Stefano was here to hear this, but very rudimentary flow drills in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I think that, man, Paul Craig, first of all, I don't want to say he has a similar body, but I like that he has long arms and legs, because that's, how I identify as. And yeah, his flexibility to kind of like, and patience, I guess, to wrap his leg around his neck was really good. My one comment I wanted to make about that is, until you actually do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and not that I've even done anything yet, like, you think it makes sense in your head when you see it, until you do it, and you're like, oh, okay, no, this is actually really, really hard. Like, even like the worst UFC's fighters, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is pretty solid. Like, in comparison to the average person.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, like, yeah, so shouts out to Paul Craig, because if you think about it, like, he wanted to get taken down, sucked him in, and picture perfect, just wrapped that. Well, he took his time, but his legs were straight up, and then he just wrapped that stuff around his neck and cranked. It was beautiful, man.
A couple things about that triangle that I really liked is, one, like, a lot of guys, they won't get right away and they abandon the triangle and then give up guard.
Yeah.
He kept adjusting, because at first he's really up against the fence. He can't get any space to really turn the corner. I call it turning the corner, but basically you want to get the angle. You want to cut the angle and really get your triangle in there. He adjusted and worked his way to get himself away from the cage a little bit, reversed hip escaped, kept working at it. Then it was about getting the right kind of squeeze down with your legs. And he was working at it while getting punched in the face, mind you.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. He said that I don't want to say he let him get punched, but he was okay with conceding the punches in order for the dude to get, like, sunk in deeper. So that when, after you landed a couple elbows, it was just like, clap, and it was a wrap. Love it. Beautiful.
And the thing about Antigolov is that Antigolov is usually better than that on the ground. So I was kind of surprised that was the route he was going for, but he did. And then the other detail I really liked is, too many guys are too flat on their backs with the triangle.
Yeah.
The way Paul Craig really shot his hips into Antigolov. That's how you, ladies and gentlemen, that's how you do a triangle.
He might as well have been doing like a headstand. That's what it looked like. It was great. Like, it was, yeah, man, that was a thing of beauty. I loved it.
Shot his hips right into Antigolov. And so,
I had one really quick point about as far as the fight, because I felt like it was a really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu lesson for me, at least, because I did it yesterday morning. Yeah, once again, it shows just how difficult it is. It's one thing to go from like side control to like mount and blah 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 in like a jiu-jitsu context, but in an MMA, when you're getting shots rained on you, ouch. And I felt like Esparza did a really good job, because I felt like she won most of the grappling exchanges, in my opinion, which I don't know.
You see, I wish Stefano was here for this one, because this is his wheelhouse. Like, if Stefano was like the leg lock guy, and the brain part that Esparza had was like, it's not like, some people like to go to that route. They like to reverse straight ankle lock without reaping the leg. But I would say reaping the leg is your best bet. And if you can't do that, you go to game over. And so Carla actually opted to go figure four on the other side and allowed Michelle to just kind of like fight her off with like just wiggling her heel and rising up. And I was very shocked that Carla did that not once but twice. So rather than reaping the leg, right? Because I feel like if she reaped the leg, she gets it, right? But she just
I just felt like, that's a good take. That's a much better take than my take. So I'll just leave it at that. But Rodriguez was unbeaten going in, and I really felt like she had a shot there. I think it was a split decision? Yeah. I could see how some people could have scored that for Rodriguez, but, as far as kind of did her thing. She was giving up a lot of height, and that was the lesson I got, was what happens when you give up a lot of height and somebody pretty much pulls guard for the entire fight.
I was really
disappointed in
Michelle Rodriguez as well, too.
Pardon?
I was really disappointed in Marina Rodriguez as well. in the sense that she didn't make an attempt to get back to her feet. She just pulled guard and held.
Yeah,
Which
for the
I
most
think,
part.
yeah, which all your good stuff, like Marina Rodriguez on the feet gives me Joanna vibes. She really does.
Yeah, she's
And
mean. She's mean. She's slick. She's like thin, like rail thin. She looks like she hits hard.
Tall Joanna, you know?
Yeah.
And
She's huge for that division. She's like 5'6" for like 125 or something like that.
115.
115? Ridiculous.
And you know, she just comes in, you know,
As
chin
far as
low.
tough.
She's tough, but like and as far as the thing about as far as this wrestling is on in the camera, it look like when you're watching it on the broadcast, it's slow. Like you see the shots coming from a mile away, but for whatever reason, she gets these girls with it.
Because she's technically really good. I kept hearing all over and over about, you know, turning the corner, and I feel like she does a good job.
A great job
Like that. Like she's fundamentally very sound. I don't think she's like the best striker necessarily, but yeah, I thought she did a good job, all things considered. And once again, you take for granted how hard it is to even pass in UFC pass a guard. Like, it's crazy.
Oh, I know.
Because she could not get out of that thing at all for the most part. Like, she was wrapped in there and just like wailing on her. And Rodriguez kind of just took it.
Fair play to Rodriguez though on the bottom, landing those elbows, especially when
That's true.
As far as it would,
Woo. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I was just really disappointed with Rodriguez is because like all your best stuff is up top. I thought they would have really drilled some back to your feet stuff, at least in the context of BJJ, rather than pulling guard and going for a triangle choke that you're clearly not going to get.
Yeah.
You know, but it is what it is. And then Esparza with, you know, probably not the greatest heel hook setup that like I would have gone for, but she was also pretty solid on the ground as well. Like, you know, a couple errors, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. No, she was pretty good. Okay, let's talk about the Verdun fight.
Yeah, tough fight for Gus, eh? I would like to.
Rough, man, rough. But once again, that's jiu-jitsu, man. That's jiu-jitsu.
Honestly, yo, I like that. I'm sorry. That stuff is That stuff is effective. Like, I've never seen anybody just pull somebody on their back like that. Like, it looked like an animal in the wild, like taking down its prey. Like, it was so. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, no, I was like, and the sad thing is, Gustafsson came out and he had that long jab. He was going to the body with it. He looked quick. He was light on his feet. I really thought, like, I thought, oh wow, we're gonna see, you know, Gustafsson come out and, you know, really start to put it on him, right? And then all of a sudden, you see Fabrizio Verdum. I'm getting a call out of nowhere. Okay, whatever. Right? All of a sudden, you see Fabrizio Verdum out of nowhere just start to, you know, get the takedown. Then he doesn't get it. Then he gets Gustafsson's back, pulls him on top, and goes for a rear naked choke, transitions into the armbar, and that's what World Championship ADCC Jiu-Jitsu is going to get you. It's not just, it's the second effort. That's the thing. A lot of jiu-jitsu guys, it's the second effort. Because if the rear naked choke doesn't work, he's going to the armbar. If the armbar doesn't work, he's going for the bicep slicer. If the bicep slicer doesn't work, he's going to go for the triangle. He's doing everything. It's the transitions in the second effort and the third effort and the fourth effort. And that's the thing. Gustafsson's initial defense, beautiful. Just turns to his side. Then the armbar comes. The initial defense for the trying to bridge, beautiful. But then Verdum crosses his legs under Gustafsson's elbow, and so Gustafsson can't bridge properly, and he's stuck. And then all of a sudden, the arm comes out, and it's a tap.
Man, so good. So good. Shame for Gustafsson, because I think he's a good fighter, but, man, it also goes to show that just because you're technically proficient doesn't necessarily mean, like, you're going to dominate in a higher division, because I don't think, like, weight was really an issue, because they were both kind of the same size. I just feel like Verdum just been doing this longer with bigger guys.
Verdum lost his last fight, didn't he?
Yeah, got murdered by Alexei Olenek.
So it was a good comeback.
Yeah. He looked way better. Yeah.
I mean, it was hard to say. It was one round. It's hard to say. It was quick. It was a quick one, though.
Yeah, it's just what got me with it was that he looked better in the sense that, um, he just looked more sharp, like in his defense, and more sharp in like getting to places. Like against Alexei Olenek, he got rushed back very easily. He looked slow. Defense didn't look as fundamental. It could have been due to the long layoffs. And, we made a lot of jokes during that fight companion about the drugs. Well, not we. I made a lot of jokes about the drugs. He's off the drugs. But, he could have been the long layoff because he looked sharp for a 42-year-old. Quick note, like, post-fight. Verdum says he's not re-signing with the UFC, eh?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's not re-signing. So.
Well, sorry. Yeah. Goodbye, Fabricio.
Huh? Valcario.
What's it called? Yeah. Okay. So speaking of 40-year-old fighters, did you?
I don't give a shit about this fight.
Wow, man, have fun cutting this one up. I thought it was interesting. It looked like the old fights, really, but
No, I don't care.
Who has really lost a step, but that's okay.
You mean three? You mean 3 steps?
Damn. Nogueira is like 44, so that was interesting as well.
For the record, I think these guys are legends, and I respect them a great deal. I just don't think it was
Are they really legends? Because I've never heard of either one.
Mauricio Shogun Hua? Oh my goodness. Mauricio Shogun Hua, former UFC
I guess they would have to be
champion.
A 40-year-old and are still getting contracts to fight, so they'd probably have to be.
Yeah.
Man. Shogun's like one of the original OGs. Like, he's one of the reasons I would say MMA is popular right now, because I was a kid, like a teenager in the UK watching his tapes, and like it was crazy. And even Nogueira too. He's been in it for time. Like,
there was a period there was a period of like 3 years where Lil Nog was killing everyone. Everyone.
It was kind of weird watching this fight.
Sorry?
Like, it was kind of weird watching this because it was just like, I don't know. I don't want to say it made me feel old, but it was like, wow, like these guys have been doing this for a while.
Yeah, the time.
Like Nogueira looked unrecognizable from like, that first fight.
Yeah, but like, you know what? I honestly thought Nogueira won the fight, but like.
Man, no.
I don't care. No, I don't care enough.
No takes. Who won that fight? I can't believe it was a split decision. That was crazy.
You thought he won that fight? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that left hand was working for Nogueira all night, so that's why I was going to give it to him. But I don't care. Honestly, I don't care enough.
Maybe one. Maybe
I don't care enough to honestly give this. I keep getting a call.
Hang up on him, please. Yeah. We can talk about it later, or you can call him later. All right. We're almost done.
I know.
Whittaker versus Darren Till.
Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till. This was 4D chess to me. 4D chess. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, actually, this is one of the best stand-up fights I've watched in a long time, actually.
Dude. Because you know what? It's what I liked about it is they all look. Everyone and their mother knows what both of these guys look for. If you're Till, it's the left hand, and he's fluttering in. He's getting that outside leg. He's working to get that outside foot, and then flutter in with that left hand, right? If you're Robert Whittaker, Whittaker likes to set something up to then rush in and hit you with a flurry of punches. And to see these guys use their skills and knowledge to best apply themselves to get what they want in this fight was insane. Like that Darren Till elbow. Oh. Oh. You know what I'm saying? That elbow.
I had a couple of thoughts about this because it was two really distinct styles. Because if you think about it, Till has the Muay Thai really heavy on that front leg. Lots of feints, but maybe not as much as like Adesanya or any of the city kickboxing guys, but tons of feints. Like enough. Well, it's easy for me to say, but I feel like if you were the average fighter, you'd be biting on a lot of them. But I wanted to talk about Robert Whittaker's footwork. My God, maybe I'm not been paying attention, but does anybody have a better pendulum than Robert Whittaker in the UFC? Like,
what's the pendulum?
the way he like hops from like back foot to front foot to back foot, and then it doesn't.
He shifts his weight really well.
It's
It
trippy
was
because
in his boxing or in his striking or in his
in his
wrestling.
in his boxing. Well, I mean, he
Okay.
actually mixes it up pretty well because sometimes
His footwork, Robert Whittaker's footwork is tricky. But see, here's the thing: Darren Till's footwork is probably second to none too. Like it's because the way he just flutters in, like
I don't know if it was second to none because he got caught with a couple of leg kicks, like with quite a few leg kicks.
What I think happened is Darren Till explained that he actually like his knee kind of busted up, right? And so considering the fact that his knee got busted up on a like a side kick to the knee, that kind of foot stomp that guys like to do now in the UFC, and to still, flutter in on Robert Whittaker like that, especially in that fourth, was,
And we talked about this before this fight. Before the pod. I thought it was actually a pretty close fight. But yeah, there were things. I wouldn't say they were the perfect. I hate to criticize fighters, and now Stefano's gonna be bad saying like I can't criticize fighters. But for me, one thing I did notice about Robert Whittaker is his pendulum is great. So he's hopping from front to back foot, and it's hard to time because he'll switch up the rhythm. He'll like dip low. He'll get his head off like the center line, really like what you're supposed to do basically. But then he'll throw something and his hands and body's leaning forward, and it's like he's throwing like a baseball. It's so wild. Darren Till. Okay, sorry, go on.
No, go.
I was gonna say Darren Till, heavy on that front leg, which if you're getting your front leg blasted, you want to switch it up. Doesn't switch as much as other similarly skilled Muay Thai strikers. The feints were good. He's a little predictable with what he wants to do with the straight left. But I feel like the biggest issue with him, and it was kind of like with the Masvidal fight, is even in this fight, he was doing a lot of blocking and a lot of evading with his head, like his chin way up, way up. Like he'll duck back and he'll just miss it, but a lot of the time his hands are low, his chin is up, and he's getting whacked. And it was actually, he did a good job in evading like Robert Whittaker's hardest shots, but those were just like the two technical things that I saw. Like Robert Whittaker, it makes sense, not why he got knocked down by Adesanya, but even like Till was trying to do some of the same, like similar things in terms of stand in the pocket, dodge some shots, and then counter with like counter with like a low scooping left or low scooping right or something. And
then to Robert Whittaker's credit, in the late rounds, what he ended up doing was he would pretend to go for a takedown, get that single, fight a little harder, and then come over the top with something. And to Darren Till's credit,
hands, man, are so wild. Like, how are they effective? It's easy for me to say, but they're so wild.
So here's what it is with Robert Whittaker. Yo Romero actually had a lot of success catching him on the way in with a right hook. Right? Actually, it was left. But
Adesanya got him with. Yeah.
Yeah, because what would happen is Whittaker would lean so heavily he would throw his right, lean so heavily over to the left side when he throws that right, and drop that left hand. So all of a sudden, that left hook is coming, boom, flush. Adesanya did the same thing. Adesanya would lean back, switch southpaw, left hook. And Darren Till, in the beginning, you'll notice what he get with left elbow, right? Mm-hmm. And again, this is what I'm trying to explain is a lot of these guys, exactly, everyone and their mother knows what these guys want. If you're Whittaker, you're going to rush in, throw 3 punches, and get out. If you're Till, it's flutter in, get that left hand. He just flutters in with some feints, and all of a sudden, boom, he comes in with that left.
I like that. Right? I like that, though. I like the style, but it's still going.
No, I'm just saying. But, these guys know, and they have counters for it, but then all of a sudden they apply certain things to get what they want, and they get it to varying degrees of success every time. And if you're Till, maybe because, you can't evade punches like that forever, maybe adding a parry and coming in with that right hook first before you come in with that left would do you some good.
To be fair, he does have a parry, but the problem is if somebody feints and he misses the parry, his hand is right there,
Yeah,
still. Like
yeah.
his chin, I should say, is right there. Like I just feel like he's a fundamental. I don't want to say flaw, but it's almost like a flashy Muay Thai style where he's like on the tippy toes for every kick. He's like really extending. Like it looks amazing, looks beautiful and super fluid, but his chin is high. Like almost in every strike.
Yeah, the thing about it, it's not for me
Shout out.
that his chin is high. And shout out to Darren Till. He can kick our asses all day.
Yeah, for sure, man. For
Yeah.
sure.
For me, I think the main issue I have is that his defense is kind of one note, right? It's that he's not doing multiple things in his defense, right? So sometimes I would have liked a slip. Sometimes I would have liked a block. Sometimes I would have liked a parry. But again, teaching somebody not to be one note in their defense, if that's really your only flaw with someone who evades who only gets hit about 20% of the time, then what
He did
are
a
we
great
talking?
job with evading. He did a great job in evading, and I don't think it would suit his style to like slip because then he's gonna get rocked.
Yeah,
Like,
he's gonna get rocked somewhere else. I'm just saying, like,
plus,
part of what makes guys. What are we talking about? Like,
I was gonna
Darren
say, you want to be slipping Robert Whittaker's shots? Like, I don't want to be slipping Robert Whittaker's shots. Like, I don't know. I think
No,
he
I
fought
know.
smart, but I don't think anybody should feel bad about that fight. I thought that was like one of the better fights that I watched on standard
What?
fight.
Yeah, it was a good
technically,
fight.
clinically great fight. by
Yeah.
both guys. Like, I don't know why I'm so critical of Darren Till's. Like, Darren Till.
He could be so good. He could be. He has that Conor McGregor kind of like, and maybe it's because
But
he's
the
British.
problem is welterweight is so stacked. Middleweight is so stacked. And so you're going into murderer's row against guys who, and it's stacked with strikers too. It's stacked with strikers.
Middleweight, he could still do something. I think just give him time.
Oh, of course. He faced a former champion. Like,
Wait, who did you face? That was a former champion.
Whittaker.
You're right, Craig. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right?
He did well. He did well.
Yeah,
Like that was a good fight.
It was a good fight.
It was close. So I don't know. I don't know what's next for him. Especially I don't know. Whittaker versus Hermanson. Do you want to see that? Like that's gonna be a grab.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
I keep hearing Whittaker is a great wrestler. I want to see like how good.
I liked how Whittaker was doing the takedowns, and once again, that's another thing that I like from Whittaker is his kick is so untelegraphed, unlike Darren Till.
No wind up.
Like Darren Till, like don't get me wrong, it's not like it's telegraphed, but like man, Robert Whittaker, like you don't know whether he's like jabbing or punching or low kick or high kick, like he's just like it's so fluid, you can't tell what is coming. It was so good, man.
Dude, I watched that fight 3 times just looking at the footwork. I shadowboxed for 10 minutes every single time after just to mimic the footwork. Like I'm a fangirl as both of these guys. I don't care what anyone says.
I don't think. Well, anyway, I don't know. I don't think everyone knows, but you know how hard it is to pendulum step like that for and then fight at the same time. Like, shouts out to him, man. It's one thing, people always talk about the karate style and all that. It's one thing to know it, it's another thing to make it work. Like, he makes it work.
You know what? I see the other guy I really like who does it well. I don't know how well he can do it because he's down near 40 at this point, but Wonderboy Thompson has a great pendulum too, like that. Yeah. But, like...
But not in the same way, though. Not in the same way.
Not nearly the same way, but...
Wonderboy is going to try and pendulum and then point fight you.
Yeah.
What
I like what Wonderboy really gets me is that like he does a weird MMA version of the option where he'll get his foot up, wait for you to react, and get you somewhere.
Yeah.
You come high, side kick. You go low, head kick, lead head kick over the top. He runs an MMA version of the option. He does it with his hands too, like right.
He's really good, man. Oh man, I wish we had more karate fighters. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest.
That's why I told you last week. That's why I said the karate style can really work because these guys know how to get in and out, and they run a
and that was another thing. Thank you for saying that. Whittaker was really good at getting out because he was reckless on the way in, but he never got hit pretty much because where
Darren Till would counter him is when Whittaker it was in between the steps.
Yeah.
Right.
That's and also if you remember the first 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes, 1 minute of the fight, Darren Till tried rushing Whittaker and got like punched each time, and he's like, all right, forget about that. Like, you're gonna have to come to me. Like, I thought that was pretty interesting to watch and see play out. So yeah, man, that was really fun.
I had Till winning 1 and 4. I had Whittaker winning 2, 3, and 5. So
that sounds about right to me. It sounds about right to me. I feel like, and we talked about this, but I feel like the commentators were like, oh, it's not close at all, and blah blah blah. And I thought it was.
And it's one thing to do that. Honestly, this is my problem with. This is why I'm talking about professionalism. It's one thing to do that when it's screaming fans, 50,000 strong. It's another thing to do that when you guys are the only two there, and they can hear you too, right? Like.
Yeah, I thought it was but either way, shouts out to both of those gentlemen. This middleweight division is sneakily getting up there.
Oh my goodness.
Like, if you think about it, just last point, the bantamweights stacked, featherweights stacked, lightweights stacked. What's it called? Now you got middleweights stacked.
What about welterweight? There's a log jam.
Welterweights, I completely forgot welterweights stacked.
We're in a period of MMA. Like, honestly, enjoy it because we're in a real big renaissance. Like, that golden age of the middleweight, light heavyweights with Anderson Silva in them and Rampage in them was I still think was the MMA golden age where guys were personable, they were funny, but they could also kick your ass. We're now in a renaissance where guys are just as skilled as they've ever been.
For real.
Just as they've ever been. Like, You've got guys like Tanner Boser, 220, with lightweight hand speed. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got Chimaev throwing guys.
That guy a welterweight. Okay, no, we're not being structured right now. We're not being structured, but that's a future conversation. How is that guy a welterweight? He should be fighting middleweight, and even then, I don't like middleweight's chances against him because he looks like a problem. The only two divisions I'd say that maybe could do with a little more talent, not talent, but just more name power maybe is flyweight, but that's just flyweight, and heavyweight, and maybe light heavyweight.
Oh, women's flyweight too could probably use some sprucing up, but
women's flyweight right now. Yes.
Women's flyweight and women's featherweight, but let's be honest, featherweight is kind of dead. But
give the women some time. But man, just wow. The UFC is stacked right now. Like, the top of the divisions, ridiculous.
You got weapons left, right, and center.
Oh my goodness. And again, Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I know he lost to what's that gentleman's name?
Ghanaian brethren.
Yeah, no, but he was. He had 2 years of his career taken away from him, and he was on the up and up. He was going, and he had 2 years taken away from him too. So you got a lot of guys. I know we're really up against it here, but great fights. Like, man, poor Stefano. I wish he could have heard some of these, but we'll give him a call later. Make sure he's okay.
Okay. Next we got Brunson versus Shabazian. This fight was supposed to happen earlier in the year, I think. I think on the first card out of the pandemic, and then it got moved, and we were all like, what? And well, here it is. It's happening. And then on, I think, the co-main in that one, you got Vicente Luque versus Randy Brown, which is another good fight as well.
Yeah, I like Randy Brown. I like
Randy Brown. I like anybody who's proud enough to rep Jamaica, obviously.
Uriah Hall, stand up. No.
But yeah, no. Who have you got for Brunson and Shabazian?
In a weird way, Edmund Tarverdian has turned into more of a sympathetic figure, right? Because remember, when Ronda Rousey and Travis Brown and Jake Ellenberger were at his gym, they were losing 5 straight, and he was being recognized as like this. He was being talked about as this quack, this like horrible coach, guy who couldn't coach worth a damn, and needed to be far, far away from the UFC, and everyone was making fun of him. The "Thank You Edmund" memes were hilarious. No, they were. I laughed. Everyone laughed. Let's be honest, right? And then in comes this kid, right, who goes to Glendale, Edmund Shabazian, and he's lighting everyone up. right? And Edmund's there teaching him, training him, and is the main guy training him and the main guy in his corner. So, it's in a weird way, this is like Edmund Tavarian's last hurrah in being recognized as a good coach, which kind of makes him turn into the sympathetic figure. So, in a weird way, I kind of am rooting for Team Edmund Sharbazian and Team Edmund Tarverdian, but I know what's going to happen. Derek Brunson's going to win.
What?
Yeah.
Nah, man. Shabazian's way too dynamic. Way, way, way too dynamic.
But the thing about Derek Brunson is that, I know he's a little older, but he was that guy, too, who was really dynamic and explode on you. I think he knows how to handle that, too, right?
What was his last fight? Because he fought somebody who was also really dynamic and was
Ian Heinich. Ian Heinich. Oh. And he showed him the truth, too. So I think Derek Brunson knows how to handle that a little bit. He's physical, right? He's physical. I get it. The Israel Adesanya memes were hilarious, but
that wasn't even the one I was thinking about. I was thinking of the Elias Theodorou, who is a solid mobile fighter. Derek Brunson beat him up.
But yeah, no, that's kind of the way you have to fight Elias Theodorou, for the record, too. You have to be kind of patient. You have to wait. You have to pick your shots, and you gotta. But anyway, no, I think Brunson knows how to handle that, and he's physical too. He's physical. So, good luck trying to get him on the ground. Good luck trying to out tough him into a fight. So I think Brunson's gonna win. I really do. I'm rooting for Shabazian. It's just a great story. I really like that story. Because you know what? Let's be honest. Everyone was making fun of Edmund. They really were, and I think it'd be interesting to see what happens if Edmund Sharbazian starts getting into the top 5. Right? Is that a vindicating story for Glendale?
What if he leaves? Because fighters leave camps all the time.
Oh yeah, no, it's true. But that's the thing. It's it's just a vindicating story. I really enjoy that kind of story.
I think it's
cool.
I don't know if I'd give his coaches all that crap.
No. At the end of the day, Edmund Shabazian is a hell of a talent. I'm just saying from a storyline perspective, it'd be kind of cool. I'd like to see,
All right. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Cool.
I have Edmund for that one. Jeremy, any last thoughts?
To be honest, I think this is the first time I've watched Robert Whittaker since he faced Israel Adesanya, and he, like many others, looked like children against Israel Adesanya. But I'm glad that I got to see him against a more evenly matched fighter, because it's starting to make me privy to, and I can kind of visualize how styles make up matches, and it's expanding my MMA brain. So it was another good week of fights, and I just want to remind you and the listening podcast that I told you so. I was on the side. Did I lose you guys?
No, we're here.
Okay. No, I'm just joking. But no, yeah, I do enjoy the fact that the UFC is putting on fights, because it's a good chance for me to get into it. Nothing going on. Yep.
So, yeah. Okay. Well,
actually, and I'm glad that the NBA is back. Because in a way, I feel like my soul is back. So,
and Stefano, just a heads up that when you come back, when the NBA is back, we're gonna be renaming the podcast to the Double Dribble. What do they call it? What did they call it in basketball?
And then,
the carry.
And then Stefano will promptly hand in his resignation.
Yeah, really. I meant when you bounce it off a leg.
The kickball.
The kickball.
The kickball.
And we're gonna call it the backcourt violation.
Yes. You know what? Let's patent that right now. Let's trademark it. Let's do it.
Okay, there's no one here to spread children, and I'm tired, so let's call it a day.
Peace out, everyone. Thank you.
In this crazy mixed-up world where everyone is starting to get back to it and shake their ass at parties left, right, and center, Remember, Corona is still a thing, and you should stay home with your family, enjoy your life, and enjoy this podcast. Later, everybody.
Peace out.
Peace.